heroes turning into villains, zombies, and even universes with a total absence of death. It may not seem like it, but there are bizarre universes like this within Marvel. In today's video, we'll look at iconic heroes who started fighting against their allies, even devouring them, villains who finally achieved victory, and the terrifying universe 666, a completely diabolical world. All this and more, with some of the most terrifying alternate universes within Marvel. 1. Marvel Zombies. You can't start talking about Marvel's scariest alternate universes without first mentioning the Marvel Zombie Universe, or rather, the Marvel Zombie Universes, as the zombies of the publisher seem to have become a multiversal plague, unwilling to stay confined to just their universe of origin. In the original story, there was a day when the hero Sentry fell from the sky with an unexplained plague that turned everyone around him into zombies. Naturally, the first responders were the superheroes, and they were also the first to be infected. From there, the end of the world began. This was because there was no force on Earth greater than the superheroes, and if they were the threat, there was nowhere to run. Within weeks, Earth was already devastated. There was little resistance against the zombies, which came in the form of Magneto and some characters allied with him on his meteor. But in the end, even he was killed. The Silver Surfer, who came to Earth to warn about the coming of Galactus, was also killed and devoured, and from there, things started to get even worse. This was because the zombies realized they could absorb the cosmic energy of those they devour, something they discovered after devouring the Silver Surfer. When Galactus came to Earth, the heroes were already prepared for his arrival. They managed to use the cosmic power of the Silver Surfer to knock him out and made Galactus their feast. But remember, I said they could absorb cosmic energy from those they devour? From then on, the universe became their playground, as they stole Galactus's energy and set out to devour other planets. 2. Ultimate. Well, the Ultimate Universe may not be as bad as the last universe I just mentioned, but it's definitely just as tragic and difficult to live in. This is a more realistic and grounded universe, created by Marvel around 2010, which even served as the basis for the Avengers movie. Most people believe that the Avengers movie was inspired by the 616 Avengers, but that's not really the case. It was the Ultimate Avengers. But to give you an idea of how bad this universe is, superheroes are completely corruptible, and Hank Pym once sent Wasp to the hospital after a fight between the two. Mutants are nothing more than a genetic experiment created by humanity to try to replicate the super soldier serum. Reed Richards, the smartest man in the world, became a villain in this universe and later transferred to the main universe, becoming a villain there as well. Magneto flipped the poles of the Earth, causing global catastrophes, to the point that Manhattan was completely flooded after he declared war on humanity. Sure, it may not be as bad as a zombie Hulk coming your way to devour you, but I still wouldn't want to live on a planet where, at any moment, a blue whale could crash through my door. This actually happened to the Fantastic Four when Magneto flooded everything, and I'm not even joking about that part. 3. Age of Apocalypse. The Age of Apocalypse is one of the most iconic alternate realities in Marvel, and that famous saying, "Don't mess with what's quiet." The Mutant Legion, son of Professor Xavier, decided to use his divine powers to travel back in time and kill Magneto. However, he accidentally ends up killing Professor Xavier, his own father. To honor the death of his friend, Magneto decides to take up Xavier's cause for the mutant race and founds the X-Men. However, without the precise guidance of Professor Xavier, they had no chance against the arrival of the villain Apocalypse, who easily dominated Earth. This is precisely where the name of this saga comes from, the Age of Apocalypse, named after the villain Apocalypse. Several things we know from the main Marvel universe do not exist in this universe or are inverted. For example, the character Beast is one of Apocalypse's main torturers, and several other mutants who worked alongside Xavier are now on the side of the villain. 4. Old Man Logan. This is one of the most well-known alternate universes in all of Marvel, featuring one of the best stories, and I'm sure you've heard of it if you've been following the channel for a while. In this story, almost all the heroes of Earth were exterminated after the villains finally teamed up to defeat them all at once. In my opinion, it was quite fortunate for the heroes of the main Earth that they didn't go through this, considering that in terms of numbers, the villains greatly outnumber the heroes. But anyway, this time, the heroes were unable to stop the villains, and they were indeed defeated. The main one to carry out their plan was Wolverine. This is because Logan was tricked by Mysterio, who made him believe that his allies were actually villains trying to attack the Xavier Mansion and kill some children. He ended up killing each one of them, and when the last one fell, Mysterio dispelled the illusion, making Logan realize that he had defeated all the X-Men. The problem is that the X-Men are one of the greatest forces on Earth, being the largest group of superpowered characters in Marvel, and without them in the way, everything became much easier for the villains. Earth was dominated by crime bosses, with part of it divided by the Kingpin, another part controlled by the Red Skull, and a considerable portion taken over by Hulk and his family. Since in this universe, Hulk also went insane and created hundreds of Gamma children to take a large part of the United States for himself. Earth 666. Just by looking at the numbering of this universe, you can already tell it's not a good place, right? Everyone in this universe is a zombie, and it goes even further. Any living being that enters this universe is forced to leave since the local residents can't stand them. Even interdimensional troops like the Captain Britain Corps were not accepted in this universe. In this universe, we see some bizarre forms of the heroes, like a monstrous Thor who worships Mephisto. This is another reality where even cosmic entities didn't escape. The Celestial introduced in this universe is also a zombie and falling apart. It certainly wouldn't be a nice universe to live in, but among the zombie universes on this list, it's not the worst one. 6. Thanos wins. Well, if luck smiled on other supervillains, it might as well smile on Thanos once in his life. In this alternate reality, Thanos has aged and eventually returned to Earth to take revenge for all the anger he felt from the superheroes, killing them one by one. In fact, he embarked on a frenzied journey to destroy the entire universe. But I'm sure he felt extra pleasure when he did this to Earth. The comic does not hold back on the brutality of showing how the heroes were completely obliterated by the wrath of the Mad Titan. But as I said, he didn't stop just at Earth. Thanos traveled across the universe, destroying civilization after civilization, cosmic beings, and even abstract entities. Everything that crossed his path was annihilated. Most of it wasn't shown on screen, but we know he defeated a horde of Celestials using Black Bolt as a weapon. It got to the point where he became so powerful that when Galactus came at him, Thanos decapitated him with a single strike. The only character who could do anything against him was the Cosmic Ghost Rider, who was actually the Punisher after making a pact with Mephisto and becoming Galactus's herald. So it's not like he could defeat Thanos. Thanos just couldn't kill him. So at most, he would be a nuisance. This universe is completely terrifying because, first, the Mad Titan will be lurking, waiting to kill you. And second, there's almost nothing left in the universe because he left no stone unturned. 7. Age of Ultron. I've already mentioned some alternate realities here where the villains win, like in the case of Apocalypse, Thanos, all the combined villains, and even the zombie universe. But out of all the universes mentioned so far, None made the heroes lose hope like what happened in the Age of Ultron. Ultron is a creation of Ant-Man, who used data from his own mind to program the robot's artificial intelligence. However, deep down, the hero harbored a profound hatred for humanity, which manifested in the robot he created. That's why Ultron is a villain who tries, at all costs, to massacre humanity. Being a robot, he had all the time and opportunity in the world to do this, and at one point, he succeeded in the Age of Ultron. Ultron created hundreds of thousands of versions of himself that devastated New York City, hunting down heroes. The situation was so desperate that some human civilians tried to hand over the superheroes to stay alive, but Ultron killed everyone indiscriminately. As I mentioned, the main problem was the heroes losing hope. It was so sad that Captain America's shield was broken, and he fell into depression, with the heroes no longer believing in him, and he himself didn't want to fight anymore. At one point in the comics, Captain America does return to the good fight, but it was already too late for that timeline. To resolve everything, Invisible Woman and Wolverine traveled back in time, which ended up creating even more confusion, but it was certainly easier than facing Ultron. 8. Cancerverse. The Cancerverse is an alternate reality where no one can die, as in this parallel universe, death is dead. And, surprisingly, people not dying becomes a bad thing, even though it might seem good at first. The fact is that death is an abstract entity for a reason. She has a universal purpose, and her existence ensures that this purpose is fulfilled. Souls need to give life to the afterlife. What is alive must die, and what is dead must remain dead. That's how the natural cycle of things works. But then you ask me, what would happen if no character in Marvel could die anymore? Simple. The Cancerverse would happen. In this alternate reality where death doesn't exist, all beings in the universe became corrupted, creatures of pure evil. Even their physical forms were altered. The noblest heroes, like Captain America, and the most worthy, like Thor, turned evil because there was nothing to be done. The entire universe became corrupted due to the actions of a few who killed death. Interestingly, even cosmic entities like Galactus were altered by the absence of death. This universe attempted to interact with the 616 universe, but in the main universe, Thanos, who is in love with death, made her attracted to the Cancerverse and put an end to this chaos.